Welcome back to Cheddar, brought to you by HP. All day we're bringing you exclusive, very exclusive interviews from CES in Las Vegas. John is out there, and earlier today he spoke with Mark Fields, the top man at Ford, the CEO. Let's check it out, John.
Hi guys, thanks for sending it over from the exchange. I'm here with Mark Fields, CEO of Ford. Good to be with you today.
Thanks for coming by and visiting us.
All right, so you're the talk of CES in a lot of ways. I want to do three topics with you. I want to do self-driving, Alexa, and then I'm going to ask you a question about Trump that you will give me whatever answer you want to give, and we'll leave it at that. Let's talk about self-driving first. What is this car doing right now? High-level explanation for what is being shown on the screen and what the LiDARs are doing and why this is an advancement in terms of computer vision in automobiles.
Well, this is our latest generation, our next generation fusion hybrid autonomous research vehicle. And essentially, we will have 30 of these on the road this month, and we're going to triple that to 90 vehicles by the end of this year. And that complements the on-the-road testing that we've been doing since last year. And essentially, this vehicle is made up of the vehicle platform, which everybody's familiar with. It turns the car, all that kind of stuff. And then the virtual driver system, which is the brains of the system. And that includes sensors, both something called LiDAR sensors and cameras.
And LiDAR is light radar.
LiDAR is light detecting and ranging. And what it does, it essentially just spits out millions of times a second, pulses of light, so it gets the sense of where it is. And you can actually see that up on the screen here.
And the fleet would be your own fleet, because you've built a hybrid plug-in fleet of your own right now for testing purposes, is that right?
We actually have a fleet of 10 that we've been testing on open roads since 2015, and this is the next generation of this vehicle. And for example, the cameras are next generation, so they can see better through fog and rain and snow, and be able to navigate the areas.
In your press release about this, I thought it was interesting that you felt that this technology, you kind of left it open. You said it could be used in ride sharing, it could be used in fleets like an Uber or a type of Lyft, it could be used in your own thing. You weren't clear on where it's going to be used. Do you have a sense yet of which of those will be the lowest hanging fruit for the company?
Well, not yet. We have to keep our options open, because right now we don't know what we don't know. I mean, the market is developing. I mean, think about when broadband first came out, right? There was probably a few use cases, but think of all the use cases that have come since then. I think that's the same thing with autonomous vehicles. So let's get the technology right, let's get this into the marketplace, and our intent is to get it in the marketplace by 2021 in a ride-sharing or ride-hailing service, and then we'll see what happens from there.
What's interesting is I've looked at a lot of companies that have disrupted themselves, and there's talk about Apple never worries about cannibalizing itself. DirecTV is now doing DirecTV Now over the top, no cable box, no satellite. Is there a sense that inner city dwellers would not have a car that they own in the future, and they would be part of a program, part of a ride-sharing service, and this would be something that they have on demand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that concern you, or?
Well, it doesn't concern me, because as a company, it's really important for us to have a view 10, 15 years out and looking at societal trends.
Yes.
And it's very clear that cities are going to get more and more crowded, right? The growth of the global middle class, people just moving into cities. At the same time, there's, concerns around, pollution, but also changing consumer habits. People want access versus ownership. So from our standpoint, we need to understand that and then start laying in plans to say, how do we thrive in that world? And so, there will be more autonomous vehicles, maybe less vehicles in the cities, but we want to be there and provide those services.
I have a 6-year-old son, a 7-year-old daughter, and I say, partly to be provocative, I don't think either of my children will ever drive a car. Is that a good prediction or a bad prediction?
Potentially, if you live, let's say, in New York City or a major urban area, access will be much more important than ownership.
Yes.
And that could exactly.
Oh, and I'm not saying they might not own a car. I'm saying they'll probably own a car, maybe they'll own a car. I'm saying they'll never drive the car. Is that a good prediction?
That in a major urban area, that could be the case. Think about manual transmissions.
Yeah, right. I still drive a manual transmission.
So you and me are a dwindling breed, right? Sometimes some young people, you say, okay, get in the car and drive. They're like, how do I drive this thing?
I know. All right, let's move on to Alexa. Why do you think this is a platform that is such a surprise and has been so big, and what makes it different in the car than on the kitchen counter?
Well, first off, I mean, I've had an Alexa for 6 or 8 months now. It makes your life easier, right? You want the news, you just say, Alexa, give me the news, or you add to your shopping list, or you want a song. Yes. It makes your life easier. And so we started working with Amazon over a year ago. At CES last year, I presented the proof of concept.
Yep.
And what our team has done, they've done a great job working with Amazon on incorporating Alexa into the vehicle, and it's the most comprehensive in the industry incorporation of Alexa, because it's not only the home to car, it's the car to home.
Yep. I was with the CMO of Ally Bank, and I was with the CMO of Dunkin', I'm the Chief Digital Officer of Dunkin' Donuts in the past 24 hours, and both brought up to me in the car on-demand functionality with computers, and there is this feeling that the car is the third computing platform, desktop, mobile, car. What are the core use cases, or a few that you really like to think about? Is it banking? Is it ordering? What kind of commerce transactions do you think a lot about on the Alexa platform?
Well, first off, this is like the car is the ultimate mobile app, right?
Yeah, right.
If you think about it that way.
Or the computing device.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of use cases for it. I mean, for example, a lot of people, they listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting at home and you're listening to your audiobook and you have to drive to work, you can drive to work and continue with your audiobook, and then when you get home at the end of the day and get back into your Barca lounger, it'll pick up exactly to where you left off. So part of it is just use case of making people's lives easier to entertain them. Other use cases, okay, let's say you're driving around and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to pick up something at the store, or I need to pick up a cup of coffee, etc. You'll be able to say, Alexa, where's the nearest coffee shop?
Right.
Or where's the nearest pharmacy?
Hopefully that's our partner, Dunkin' Donuts. Or mobile order from Dunkin' Donuts.
I love Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, good. Everybody loves Dunkin' Donuts.
And so it'll be able to say, here's the nearest one. You just hit the screen, and we'll integrate into your navigation system, and it'll take you right there.
Was there a moment where you felt a little bit like with Amazon, it's letting the fox into the hen house, and that as powerful as the technology is, Amazon has over time caused a great deal of pain to many of their partners. And how do you thread the needle of letting them into sync, your platform?
Well, first off, whenever you partner with somebody, it's really important that you have a business rationale for doing it, but also at the same time there's a cultural fit as well. And we've tailored this to very specific use cases, and I think as we go forward, the relationship will grow. But what's really important is that both partners see value for that.
Right.
And we'll work with them to make sure that happens.
Last question, okay? On the factory, the non-factory opening in Mexico, the investment in Michigan, I thought you had some very candid comments where you said that you feel like the business environment with lower tax rates, the repatriation of cash, which doesn't impact you as much,
right.
You felt that it was a business favorable environment. Your thoughts on this process? How much will you say or not say that political environment made you want to make this change?
Well, I think when you look at the investments that we announced, the $700 million we're investing in the plant in Michigan and the 700 jobs, we look at a lot of different factors. And one of the factors we look at is we feel there's going to be a more favorable business environment for manufacturing under President-elect Trump. We factor that in. In the case of canceling the plant in Mexico, that was first and foremost a business decision. We were going to move our focus into that new plant. But what we've seen over the last 2 years is a marked fall off in demand for small cars in the U.S. And so, we have an annual process where we look at the industry, we look at our share assumptions, and we said, listen, we don't need this capacity anymore, so let's build the Fusion in an existing plant in Mexico. That was the prime reason for making that decision.
And it seems like President-elect Trump has a real big business interest or a personal intellectual focus on high tech and auto, right? He's tweeted about every automaker or 4 of the top 10 automakers in the past week alone. When you look at that tech summit that was held at Trump Tower a couple months ago, do you and your colleagues in the industry, are you looking forward to a summit? Do you want to have that dialogue with the White House? Do you feel it'll be challenging to deal with a president-elect who so openly speaks on Twitter about his feelings about things?
Well, first off, I don't think there's anything wrong with a president or president-elect who says, I want a strong U.S. economy.
Yes.
I think that's good for all of us.
Yeah.
We don't wait for summits to have relationships with administrations, all the way going back to when we were born, the Teddy Roosevelt administration. We have always worked with administrations and policymakers, and we're going to do the same thing with President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Pence and their administration. And we've already established relationships, and we'll continue to work positively. We want to be a trusted source, but we also want to make sure we're laying out the facts.
Wonderful. I always like to end on kind of like a ridiculous question. So, what 4 vehicles do you own? And what is your primary Ford vehicle now? I'm always curious about these life things.
My primary Ford vehicle is a Ford Explorer.
Okay.
But
because you have a family, I guess.
Yep, and I love Explorers, but I have a couple of Mustangs. I have a Ford GT.
Yeah.
And you know, I get a chance, I try and drive.
I thought about this. If I worked at Ford, I would drive an F-150 because don't most Ford employees want to drive F-150s because it's like the best-selling car in America, and like you want to like
a lot of our employees
you want to drink like you want to eat the Big Mac if you work at McDonald's, right? I mean,
a lot of our employees do, but all of our employees drive Ford vehicles.
No,
that's the most important.
I'm saying if I worked for you, I would never even need to transport anything anywhere, and I would just get a Ford 150 because I feel like that's what you got to own.
Well, you don't have to work for us. I can sell you.
Appreciate the time today. Very exciting stuff you're doing here. Mark Field, CEO of Ford. Thank you so much for being with us. Back to the New York Stock Exchange.